Have you ever noticed, the harder you search, the further peace seems to slip away? It's a haunting paradox. The more you chase love, purpose, or clarity, the more it hides. What you seek is not ahead of you. It's already within, waiting to be remembered. Beneath all the striving is a deep exhaustion, a quiet ache that asks, why hasn't it found me yet? What if? The problem isn't that life hasn't delivered, but that you've been looking in the wrong direction. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "I trust divine timing," in the comments to begin. In this video, we'll uncover ancient Buddhist principles that reveal why detachment is not giving up, it's opening up. You'll see why letting go doesn't mean losing. It means finally being free enough to receive and stay until the end, because there's a powerful bonus lesson that may change the way you view timing forever. If you've been tired of forcing, rushing, or wondering if the right things will ever come, this is for you. Before we begin with number 1, subscribe to Deep Wisdom, where every video is a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist insight you won't find anywhere else. Let's begin. 1. Stop worshipping the horizon. What if your future can't find you because you're never here? So many of us wake each morning with a question heavy on the heart. When will it happen for me? We race toward visions of success, love, peace, as if they live on the distant horizon. But chasing the horizon is like chasing the sun. The more you run toward it, the faster it fades behind the mountain. In the name of growth, we begin to worship the distance, forgetting that life is only ever lived in the space beneath our own feet. There's a story of a man who spent his life searching for a sacred gem said to grant peace to the one who held it. He climbed mountains, crossed oceans, aged in deserts, and one day, weary and hollow, he collapsed near a well. When he opened his bag to drink, he discovered, buried deep in the lining, the very gem he'd been searching for. He'd carried it all along, but he was so busy searching outside, he never looked within. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." And yet, in today's world, we're taught to chase purpose, chase success, chase love. But every chase takes us further from the stillness where life is truly heard. When you're always waiting for what's next, you become blind to what already is. Your seeking becomes noise that drowns out the whisper of truth. What you're yearning for may already be with you. So, what if your future is not something you find, but something that finds you? When you finally become still enough to receive it? We forget. A flower doesn't chase the sun. It opens. It simply receives. Are you open, or are you running? Close your eyes. Feel your breath. Not your calendar, not your goals. Just breathe. Can you feel the life you were trying to find out there, quietly moving through you now? Midway, let me ask you, what are you chasing that might already be within you? Tell me in the comments, or better yet, ask yourself tonight in silence. Let this be a turning point. Instead of racing ahead, pause and sink in. Instead of asking, when will it come? Try asking, have I truly received what's already here? The universe is not late. It is patient. It waits until you are ready. And readiness is not a matter of force, it's a matter of presence. The less you seek in desperation, the more you allow in peace. Because the truth is simple, yet revolutionary. The more you chase, the farther it runs. What's meant for you waits in stillness. 2. Release the rope. Stop pulling life toward you. Why do you think life only moves when you tug at it? We've been taught to hustle, to grind, to chase with clenched fists. as if the universe is some stubborn door that only opens if we push hard enough. But tell me, have you ever tugged at a vine tangled in knots? The harder you pull, the tighter it binds. And yet, when you soften your grip, when you stop pulling, it starts to loosen slowly, gracefully, on its own. There's a quiet illusion many carry, that effort alone guarantees arrival. But some things in life, the most sacred things, do not respond to force. Peace, healing, clarity. These cannot be yanked into place. They come like soft rain. They arrive like sleep. They emerge when pressure fades and presence returns. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha reminds us, attachment is the root of suffering. And sometimes that attachment takes the shape of control, gripping onto life, demanding it show up on our terms. But life is not something you control. It's something you collaborate with. And control, disguised as ambition, slowly becomes fear in fancy clothing. Fear that if you stop pulling, everything will fall apart. But what if the opposite is true? What if what resists your force might actually respond to your peace? You can feel it in your body, the tension of always trying to make it happen, the weight of what-if thoughts stacking on your chest. What if it doesn't work? What if I'm behind? What if it's too late? So today, I ask you, can you let go of just one what if? Not forever, just for now. Can you observe that thought without chasing it? Midway through this journey, I ask gently, where in your life are you pulling instead of allowing? Is it your career, a relationship, or perhaps a version of yourself you're trying to fast forward into being? What would it feel like to simply release the rope? There's a man who once climbed a mountain searching for wisdom. At the summit, he asked the old monk, "How do I let go?" The monk didn't answer. He only handed the man a rope and said, "Hold it tight." After a few moments, he whispered, "Now let it go." The man opened his hand and felt the absence of struggle. This is your moment to do the same, to open your hand, to soften your heart, to stop tugging and start trusting. Trust the silence between your efforts. Trust the seasons. Trust that you are not being punished by stillness, but prepared by it. Because life is not moved by desperation. It is moved by alignment. And often, the most powerful thing you can do is to stop pulling. 3. Don't chase the river, become the river. What if success is not a destination to conquer, but a current to enter? In the still hours of the morning, before the noise begins, ask yourself this: am I chasing the river, or am I becoming it? So many of us run through life trying to force direction, speed, and outcome, as if life needs our command to unfold. But the river never asks, "Where am I going?" It just flows. It curves, it carves, it pauses in pools and rushes over rocks, not because it knows the ocean, but because it trusts the way. We too were born to move like water, not rigid, not rushed, but responsive and alive. The Buddha said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame." That is the essence of the river. It does not change its flow because of applause or fear. It simply moves. But when we forget our nature, we begin to chase. Chase success, chase clarity, chase peace. And in the chase, we step out of the stream. There's a quiet rebellion in surrender. Not giving up, but giving in to the natural rhythm of your own becoming. You don't need to predict every bend in your journey. Like a leaf resting on water, you're allowed to be carried. When you try to swim upstream against your truth, exhaustion follows. But when you let go and trust your internal compass, life responds, not always with what you want, but with what you need to grow. So pause for a moment. Visualize yourself as flowing water, not walking feet, not grasping hands, just presence in motion. Let that image soften the resistance inside you. You were never meant to be a dam against your destiny. Now I ask you gently, where in your life are you swimming against your own current? Is there a decision you keep forcing? A version of yourself you're still trying to become? What would happen if just for a while you stopped running and started remembering? Because the truth is, you're not behind, you're not lost, you're not failing, you're flowing. Even the stillness has a current, even the pause has a purpose. Midway through this journey, reflect with me. What would your life feel like if you stopped chasing the river and started becoming it? When you become the river, you don't lose direction, you gain peace. You don't control the journey, you experience it. And in that experience, you discover the one thing you're chasing could never offer: presence. You don't have to arrive to be whole. You only have to flow with what is. Because sometimes the wisest path forward is to remember you are already moving. 4. Your desperation is disguised as desire. What if your need is what's pushing away the very thing you want? In your heart, it feels like desire. But underneath, there's a quiet desperation, an unspoken belief that you are not yet whole. You seek love not to share it, but to feel worthy. You seek success not to serve, but to feel seen. You want peace, but chase it as if it's missing from your very being. And in that chase, you lose what was always yours. The Buddha taught to crave is to suffer. Not because desire itself is wrong, but because when desire is rooted in lack, it becomes a cry for completion. You believe the next achievement, the next approval, the next chapter will finally make you enough. But to crave is to confess lack, and the universe responds not to your words, but to your energy. A bowl that's too full cannot receive the rain. A soul crowded with longing cannot hold the grace it's asking for. Pause, gently, right here. Breathe in. I have. Breathe out. I let go. Again. Let those words enter you, like wind entering a quiet forest. This is not a chant of denial, but a remembrance that before you are anything to anyone, you already are. And from that place, true desire is born, not to fill a void, but to express abundance, not from fear, but from flow. So ask yourself, is your wanting coming from wholeness or fear? Is it a celebration of what's inside you, or an escape from what you haven't accepted? So often, we clutch our desires with urgency, not realizing that urgency is loud and wisdom is quiet. You don't have to beg life for what's meant to come. You only have to make space for it. Midway through this reflection, I invite you to examine: what would change if you knew you were already enough? Would you speak differently? Love more freely? Would you stop running and start receiving? There's a story of a seeker who asked the sage, "When will I find peace?" The sage handed him a bowl already filled with water and kept pouring. The water spilled, overflowing, soaking the floor. The seeker cried, "Stop! It's already full." The sage smiled, "Exactly. So are you. There is no space for what you seek until you release what you cling to. Your desperation, though it wears the mask of ambition, is not your truth. Your truth is stillness. Your truth is sufficiency. And from that soil, the right things grow, without force, without fear, only flow. You are not meant to search with panic. You are meant to wait with peace. Because what is meant for you does not come through striving. It comes through remembering you were always worthy of receiving. 5. The silence between is where it all begins. When did noise become your comfort? We surround ourselves with it. Podcasts playing in the background, screens glowing with endless content, thoughts spinning like wheels with no destination. Silence now feels like absence, when in truth, it's the most profound presence. But the answer always whispers after the question is exhausted. After the mind stops yelling, the soul begins to speak. A bell does not sing louder when struck harder. It sings most clearly when the air is still, when the vibration hums into the silence like a sacred breath. And so too, your clarity, your direction, your peace, they don't respond to more effort, but to less noise, to a quieter kind of listening, one that asks nothing, chases nothing, demands nothing. The Buddha often retreated into the forest, not to escape the world, but to hear it more clearly. He knew that wisdom rises not from the volume of the world, but from the depth of the quiet within. But today, we flee from stillness, thinking it's empty. We forget that the soil looks barren before the seed breaks through. And in that forgetting, we miss the most important part of becoming, the silence between. Pause with me, just for a moment. Imagine sitting in complete stillness. No plans, no questions, just presence. Can you listen, not with ears, but with awareness? Can you hear your own heartbeat, your breath, your being, without reaching for what's next? I invite you today to do something deeply radical in this noisy world. Sit in silence for 3 full minutes. No music, no movement, just you, and the truth that lives beneath your thoughts. Midway, I ask you gently, when was the last time you heard your own inner voice? Not the one trained by fear or urgency, but the one that sounds like home, not your mind, your knowing. It lives in the quiet. It waits there patiently. Will you meet it? There's a story of a young monk who asked his teacher, "Why can't I hear the voice of wisdom?" The teacher led him to a still pond. "Speak," he said, and the monk shouted. The pond rippled. "Now listen," the teacher whispered. They waited. Only when the water stilled did the reflection return. "That," he said, "is how wisdom answers. You do not need to search further. You only need to become still enough for the truth to rise, because all beginnings are born from silence. And silence is not empty. It's the space where everything meaningful begins. So can you sit without searching? Can you allow the stillness to show you what striving cannot? Because what is meant for you doesn't shout. It simply waits within the quiet for you to finally listen. 6. Don't plant flowers in someone else's garden. Why do you keep offering yourself to places not meant to hold you? Again and again, you pour your love, your loyalty, your effort into spaces that offer no roots in return. You plant flowers in gardens that were never yours, hoping they will bloom. But they wither, not from your lack of care, but from misplacement. The soil was never meant to hold you. The door you keep knocking on has been closed for lifetimes, and yet you stay, waiting for it to open, calling it loyalty, calling it hope. But peace only begins when you stop knocking on closed doors. There is a truth many resist. Not every person, not every place, not every path is meant for you. Some were only lessons, some were mirrors, some were simply stops along the way. And that's okay. The Buddha taught, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Yet we forget this. We shrink ourselves to fit into what rejects us. We overextend. We dim our light so we don't outshine someone else's comfort. But hear this now. The sun does not ask the clouds for permission to shine. It rises. It radiates. Whether it's seen or not, whether it's understood or not. And so must you. Stop handing your worth to hands that tremble to hold it. Stop planting your gifts where they are trampled or overlooked. You are not here to earn space. You are space. You are light. You are already enough. Close your eyes. Visualize your energy returning to you from every person, place, and situation where it was given without return. Feel it coming home to your center. This is not selfishness. This is self-remembrance. And in remembering yourself, you allow others to do the same. Now reflect deeply. Where are you trying to be seen instead of simply being? What parts of you are still begging for belonging, hoping that if you try just a little harder, love will finally be handed back? Midway, let's pause. In your heart, are there gardens you've been watering out of habit, not truth? Are there doors you're still standing at, even though they never opened for you? There's a story of a traveler who kept planting seeds in the wind, hoping something would grow. A wise one told him, "It's not that your seeds are wrong. You're simply not on your soil yet." And with that, the traveler turned inward and built his own garden. You are allowed to walk away from what does not nourish you. You are allowed to reclaim the love you gave away while trying to be chosen. And most of all, you are allowed to begin again, not by chasing, but by becoming. Because what's meant for you won't make you beg. It will meet you where you rise, not where you shrink. 7. Become the mirror, not the mask. What if authenticity is the only real magnet? You spend so much of your life trying to become what you think the world wants, changing your tone, your pace, your light, just to be accepted. But the cost is heavy, because every time you wear a mask to belong, you drift further from the truth of who you are. And truth, unlike performance, does not shout. It hums quietly beneath the noise, waiting for you to return. A mirror never chases reflection. It doesn't perform. It doesn't seek approval. It simply becomes still, and in that stillness, everything is seen. This is the essence of presence. The Buddha taught, "The only real failure in life is not to be true to the best one knows." But we fear truth because it's raw, exposed, and vulnerable. And so we hide behind personality, behind expectations, behind the stories we've rehearsed so often they feel like identity. But masks are heavy, and they don't just hide you from others, they hide you from yourself. There is no peace in pretending, only pressure, only exhaustion. When you become the mirror instead of the mask, you don't chase love, you reflect it. You don't hunt for validation, you radiate truth. And truth, when spoken gently, draws in what no performance ever could. Breathe with me, just once. Inhale with the words, "I am." Exhale, still. Let that be your mirror. Let that be your practice. Speak only truth today, even if that truth is spoken through silence. Even if it's not yet fully formed. Even if all you can say is, "I don't know." Because the beginning of clarity is often the end of performance. Reflect now. Where in your life are you performing instead of aligning? Where are you saying yes with your mouth, while your soul quietly says no? And what truth have you been too afraid to live? Midway through this unfolding, consider this. Perhaps what you're truly seeking is not to be liked, but to be known. And being known begins when you stop hiding behind who you think you should be. There's an old story of a sage who wore a simple robe, never adorned himself with titles or pride. When asked why he didn't present himself more grandly, he smiled and said, "Because the candle does not shout, yet the darkness still disappears." You don't need to impress to be chosen. You need only to be honest. You need only to be whole. And in that quiet wholeness, the right people, the right paths, the right peace will find you. Because the truest things never demand attention. They radiate it. And you in your most undistorted form, are more than enough. The world doesn't need another mask. It needs the medicine of your mirror. 8. When you stop running, it catches you. What if what you seek is not far, but simply waiting for you to stop? You've been running, not always with your feet, but with your mind, your plans, your restlessness. Always in motion, always trying to arrive. But you're not late. You're distracted. You've been sprinting towards something that's already behind you, around you, within you, quietly watching, patiently waiting. We think fulfillment lives somewhere beyond the next task, the next goal, the next version of ourselves. But the truth is simpler, softer. A shadow does not appear under constant movement. It forms only when the light becomes still. The moment you stop running, what you've been chasing begins to appear. It doesn't require more effort. It asks for less noise. The Buddha often taught that the path to awakening is not built on movement, but on mindfulness. In one of his sermons, he said, "Be where you are, otherwise you will miss your life." And that's exactly what we do. We miss it, the beauty, the clarity, the answers, not because they're hiding, but because we're too busy moving to notice. Try this. Pause mid-task. Let the urgency fade. Look around you with soft eyes. Feel the shape of the moment. Hear the silence between sounds. Let presence return, not as an achievement, but as a remembrance. You've been searching in so many directions, but the treasure was always buried in stillness. So I ask you with care, what are you afraid will happen if you stop? What would rise in the silence if you didn't outrun it? And could it be that stillness is not the end, but the beginning? Midway through your day, let this be your turning point. Stop chasing, just once, just now. Let go of the next thing. Surrender the search, not forever, just for this breath. And notice what starts to arrive. There's a story of a monk who spent years meditating in the mountains, seeking enlightenment. One day, exhausted from his striving, he sat down under a tree and gave up. No chants, no techniques, just stillness. And in that very moment, clarity dawned. Not because he found something new, but because he finally stopped long enough to see what was always there. The universe is not hiding from you. It's waiting for your attention, and what's meant for you cannot miss you. But you can miss it by running too fast past its door. So rest, even for a moment. Let the search dissolve. Let your energy return. Because when you stop running, it catches you. Peace, wisdom, alignment, not through striving, but through stillness. And in that stillness, everything begins. 9. Let the season find you ready. Why do you plant in winter and expect spring? We are so eager for results, so anxious for arrival, that we forget. Even the lotus waits beneath muddy waters. It doesn't rush the sun. It doesn't fight the dark. It simply trusts that its time will come. But we often mistake patience for passivity and delay for denial. In truth, nature whispers the deeper lesson. A fruit ripens not when we want it to, but when it is touched by time, sun, and stillness. You may be trying to bloom right now in a season that was meant for rooting. You may be forcing motion where the lesson is rest. The Buddha taught, no matter how hard the past, you can always begin again. But beginning again isn't always about doing. It's about aligning with the moment you're in, not the one you wish you were in. It means allowing life to unfold without shoving the petals open. Can you trust that life knows the pace better than your plans do? Can you loosen your grip and let the season find you ready? This week, choose one area of your life to leave untouched, just for now. Let it breathe. Let it be. No fixing, no forcing, just quiet trust. In the silence of that surrender, something subtle begins to move, not in haste, but in harmony. Reflect for a moment. Where are you forcing timing out of fear? Where are you pushing the river, demanding the harvest before the seed has even sprouted? What if that pressure you feel is not your intuition, but your impatience in disguise? Midway, let's return to this. What would trusting divine timing look like today? Not tomorrow, not in the future version of yourself, but right now. Would you breathe deeper? Would you soften your self-talk? Would you stop asking, "Why not yet?" and start asking, "What's preparing me?" There's a story of a young farmer who pulled on the stalks of his crops each morning, hoping they'd grow faster. Days later, they began to wither. An elder saw him and said, "You've given effort, but not trust. You've watered, but you've not waited." That is the difference between control and surrender. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are becoming at the exact pace required for your unfolding. Stop rushing the ripening. Let life meet you in stillness, not in striving. Because when you trust the timing of things, you begin to understand the wisdom of delay. You start to see that nothing meaningful blooms in force. It blooms in faith. So breathe. Step back. Let the season find you ready, not rushed, not panicked, just quietly aligned. That's when the fruit appears. That's when what's meant for you arrives. 10. Abundance lives where attachment dies. Why do you believe letting go means losing? We hold on so tightly to plans, to people, to outcomes, as if our grip is the only thing keeping life from slipping away. But the tighter you hold, the more it hurts. And the more it hurts, the more you believe your only power is control. But the truth is softer, gentler. Abundance lives where attachment dies. Not because you stop caring, but because you stop clinging. Because hands that release are hands that receive. There's a quiet teaching in the breeze. It touches only the palms that are open. A clenched fist cannot feel the wind. It cannot hold the sunlight. It cannot welcome the rain. And so it is with life. When we close around our expectations, we miss what's actually arriving. The Buddha reminded us, you can only lose what you cling to. And yet, we still cling, thinking control is safety. But more often, control becomes the very source of suffering we're trying to avoid. Let go of one expectation you've held too tightly, just one. Maybe it's a timeline, a version of who you thought you'd be by now. Maybe it's someone else's approval, or the story you've told yourself about what needs to happen next. Set it down, gently, like releasing a stone you didn't realize you were carrying. And notice what happens. Notice what begins to breathe again. Reflect now. What if surrender isn't giving up, but waking up? Waking up from the illusion that you were ever in control of what's not yours to carry. Waking up to the possibility that life might surprise you when you stop trying to force it into your design. Midway, pause and ask, what's something you're afraid to release? Is it because you believe it defines you, or because you're afraid that without it you'll feel empty? But emptiness isn't a curse. In Buddhist wisdom, it's space, it's openness, it's potential, and it's from that space that abundance flows, not because we demand it, but because we allow it. There's a story of a man clinging to a branch over a cliff, crying for help. A voice calls from below, "Let go." He panics. "But if I let go, I'll fall." The voice responds, "You're only a foot above the ground." So much of our fear is like this, rooted in illusion. The fall we fear is often the freedom we need. You are not losing when you release. You are making space for what's real. You are allowing peace to return. And in that space, life does not disappear. it arrives. So open your hands. Let go, not as defeat, but as devotion. Because what's meant for you cannot be forced. It can only be received, and it waits for the one who finally lets go. 11. You don't manifest by wanting, but by becoming. What if reality responds to identity, not desire? What if the things you long for are not rewards to chase, but reflections of who you are becoming? In Buddhist wisdom, becoming is not about efforting your way into the future, but aligning with what already lives quietly within you. You don't manifest by wanting, you manifest by becoming. A magnet does not pull by trying harder. It does not chase what belongs to it. It simply is, and in being what it is, it attracts what resonates. So too do you. You receive not at the level of your craving, but at the level of your self-concept. And this is why so many who seek with urgency return empty-handed. Because the energy of lack only multiplies itself. Say to yourself gently, I am already the person I seek to become. Not because you are perfect, but because you are aligned. Because within you lives a quiet version of the life you dream of, whispering, not screaming. Wanting does not create it, but embodying it does. Every action, every thought, every pause that flows from truth becomes a prayer, a silent invitation to the reality that mirrors your becoming. Sit for a moment in stillness and ask, who are you becoming even when no one is watching? Even when no goals are being chased? Even when you're not achieving, but simply being? Are you rooted in the same energy you wish to attract? Or are you running toward the future while denying your present self the dignity of wholeness? Many people want peace, but carry conflict within. They want love, but do not offer it to themselves. They want freedom, but bind themselves with fear. Becoming is not waiting for something to arrive. It is letting go of what never belonged. And in that letting go, you create space for truth to rise. A seed does not desire to become a tree. It does not affirm its growth. It simply is what it is meant to be. The tree is not something it hopes for. It is something it unfolds into. So too, your deepest visions are not distant. They are already planted within your being. You do not need to search. You only need to shed. So walk gently, speak honestly, rest fully. Align your actions with your essence. When you do, you are not chasing the life you want. You are becoming the person who naturally lives it. And from that state, still, open and rooted, what is meant for you cannot help but arrive. You are not here to grasp. You are here to remember, to embody, to radiate, because manifestation is not magic. It is presence, and presence is who you already are. Bonus lesson. What's meant for you has been coming all along. What if the thing you've been searching for has never stopped moving toward you? What if all your striving, all your trying to make life happen, has only made it harder to see what's already unfolding at your feet? We're taught to run, to reach, to chase after our destiny. But in the stillness of Buddhist wisdom, a gentler truth appears. What's meant for you has been coming all along, not with noise, but with presence. Like moonlight crawling slowly across a dark field, it doesn't rush, it doesn't shout, it doesn't beg for your attention. It simply arrives, in silence, in softness, in sacred timing. But if your mind is always loud, if your heart is always frantic, you won't see the glow brushing against the grass. You'll miss what was already here. So breathe, not to control the moment, but to enter it. Let your breath become a smile, and let that smile be a signal to life that you're ready to receive, ready to notice, ready to see what's been quietly knocking, while you were too busy shouting into the void. Pause right now. Ask yourself gently, what has already arrived that you've been too distracted to notice? A new peace, a deeper strength, a path that is opening without fanfare, without applause. These gifts often come wrapped in ordinary days, in quiet mornings, in soft realizations. But we overlook them, thinking our answers must be loud and obvious. Truth rarely is. The deepest callings don't come with signs. They come with stillness. The next chapter in your life won't knock down your door. It will sit on your porch, patiently, waiting for you to stop running circles around the house. You don't need to chase it. Just turn around. Just open your eyes. Just listen. Can you feel it now, that something sacred is already here? Maybe it's not fully formed, maybe it hasn't spoken its name yet, but its presence is unmistakable if you slow down enough to sense it. You don't need to make anything happen, you just need to meet what's already unfolding. So let the day come to you. Let this moment arrive without being summoned. Let your soul trust the rhythm of a life that's already moving toward your highest becoming. Because what's truly meant for you doesn't rush in. It resonates in silence. It echoes in the chambers of your still heart. And like moonlight, soft, slow, inevitable, it touches everything. Once you stop trying to hold the sun. Quick summary of the lessons. Stop worshipping the horizon. Constantly focusing on the future blinds you to the peace already available in the present. The more you chase what's next, the more you miss what is. This mindset creates anxiety, dissatisfaction, and disconnection from your inner truth. Presence is the only place true life happens. Release the rope. Stop pulling life toward you. When you try to force outcomes, you create resistance. Life doesn't move faster just because you push harder. In fact, it often slows down. Real alignment happens when you trust rather than control. Letting go allows what's meant for you to flow in. Don't chase the river. Become the river. Success and fulfillment are not things you pursue. They are energies you become. Instead of sprinting toward goals, focus on how you live each moment. The path to what you want is found in being, not reaching. Life flows better when you do. Your desperation is disguised as desire. Needing something too much often pushes it away. Craving is a form of inner lack that attracts more emptiness. Real peace arises when your desires come from fullness, not fear. Let go of the need, and what's meant for you will come. The silence between is where it all begins. We've become addicted to noise, both outer and inner, but answers, clarity, and healing arise in stillness. Quiet is not empty, it's where you truly meet yourself. Your soul speaks when the world goes silent. Don't plant flowers in someone else's garden. Stop investing your time, love, and energy in places where they're not honored. Seeking validation or belonging from the wrong people always leads to pain. Peace begins when you choose environments that mirror your growth and inner truth. Become the mirror, not the mask. Authenticity has a spiritual gravity. It naturally draws in what's aligned. Pretending or performing may get attention, but not peace. The more you embody who you truly are, the more you attract people, opportunities, and paths that match your essence. When you stop running, it catches you. The things you're chasing are often trying to find you, but constant motion prevents their arrival. Sometimes, the only thing standing between you and what you want is your refusal to slow down. Stillness isn't inactivity, it's spiritual readiness. Let the season find you. Ready. Timing is sacred. Forcing things before their time causes suffering. You must become patient enough to align with the season of your life. Growth, love, success. They come when you're truly prepared to receive them. Abundance lives. Where attachment dies, the tighter you cling, the less space you leave for peace and abundance. True fulfillment begins when you release expectations and ego. What's meant for you cannot be controlled, it must be allowed. Let go and let it find you. You don't manifest by wanting, but by becoming. You don't attract what you desire, you attract what you are. Transformation begins within. The more you align your identity with your intention, the more your life mirrors that alignment. Who you're becoming shapes what flows into your life. What's meant for you has been coming all along. Often, what you've been searching for is already near, just unnoticed. The problem isn't delay, it's distraction. By slowing down and becoming present, you realize that life has always been trying to reach you. You just needed to see it, so stop searching. You've spent so much time reaching outside of yourself, believing peace was somewhere out there. But in Buddhist wisdom, the path to what is meant for you has always been inward. The moment you surrender the chase, the moment you finally become still, that's when life moves toward you. Not because you gave up, but because you finally aligned. This is the paradox of spiritual truth. The less you force, the more you receive. The quieter you become, the clearer everything gets. When you detach from the outcome, life is free to bring you what you were never meant to hunt, only hold. As Zen teaches, when you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. Let go of urgency, return to trust, and life will unfold in ways you could never plan, but were always meant for. What you seek is already seeking you. Be still enough to notice it, and wise enough to receive it when it arrives. Remind viewers to like and share this video, share your opinion in the comment box, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life.